Hey, everyone. So, we need to talk about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, because honestly, the walls are really closing in on them out there in Montecito. What started as just a few whispers on the internet has totally exploded into this full-blown royal crisis, and it's not going away. The crazy part, the silence from California right now, is absolutely definite. So, how do we even get here? And more importantly, where does this all end? Harry and Meghan, remember? They built their entire post-royal life around one big promise, protecting their kids, Archie and Lilibet, from the exact kind of spotlight that, let's be real, really haunted Harry's own childhood. But that promise, it's just crumbling right before our eyes. Enter Tom Bower. If you don't know him, he's this notorious royal biographer who's basically made a career out of exposing uncomfortable truths about powerful people. We're talking about everyone from Robert Maxwell to Muhammad Ali, Richard Branson, even Prince Charles himself. Bower's whole reputation is built on one principle. He follows the trail wherever it leads, no matter who gets uncomfortable. His 2018 biography on Prince Charles was a #1 bestseller, and it really forced some tough conversations about PR, image management, and how the monarchy actually works behind the scenes. When Bower decided to turn his attention to Meghan Markle, people definitely raised an eyebrow or two. Here was this woman who captivated a prince, seemed to modernize the monarchy's image, and then just walked away from it all. It had all the elements Bower thrives on: power, ambition, secrets, and this clash between a private truth and the public story. He said it plainly: choose people who don't want to be written about, whose lives are shrouded in mystery, and they want to hide their secrets. Just love digging away to find out what they don't want us to know. That statement alone should have sent shock waves through Montecito, because if there's one thing Tom Bower has proven time and time again, it's this: the truth eventually surfaces. And when it does, it's rarely kind to those who try to bury it. His investigation into Meghan's life before she became royal uncovered some pretty uncomfortable patterns. Friends who suddenly went silent, a father who felt left behind, a first marriage that basically evaporated from her official story. And according to Bower, Meghan's primary motivation was never really about love or duty. He claims it was something far more transaction. He bluntly stated she's money-obsessed and always has been, and that is why she married Prince Harry. Harsh words, right? Absolutely. But Bower backs them up with a claim that hits even harder. He suggests it was a great surprise and disappointment for Meghan to discover that Prince Harry actually had very little money. She apparently imagined he'd be worth hundreds of millions, if not billions. Now, she's having to make up for it. Harry, on the other hand, well, he loved the adulation. He loved it when he was being praised, especially when he was a soldier. But whether you believe Bower's characterization or not, one thing is undeniable. The financial reality of Harry and Meghan's post-royal life doesn't quite match the fairy tale they've tried to paint. The big Netflix deals, the Spotify contract that crashed and burned, the tell-all memoir, the endless stream of carefully staged appearances, all of it points to a couple scrambling to maintain a lifestyle that their actual resources just can't support. They need the money, and they need it now more than ever because they've pretty much cut off every other source of income. Bower argues they're stuck with the devil now. They're tied to Netflix. They're tied to their book. And all the criticism they're going to take means nothing because that's the only way they can earn their money. This isn't just royal gossip anymore, folks. This is about survival. And when survival is at stake, people make choices that can haunt them forever. The questions that just won't go away. What exactly is Tom Bower claiming now? The details are pretty explosive and honestly uncomfortable. He's bringing up the births of both Archie and Lilibet. Not to be cruel, but because in his opinion, the public record just doesn't quite add up. We're talking timelines that apparently shifted, hospital announcements that were super late or just never happened, and medical details that stayed mysteriously vague. Even though Harry and Meghan are constantly in the media, for most families, this would be private stuff, right? End of story. But Harry and Meghan, they're not a normal family. They're in line to the British throne. Their kids have titles, and their bloodline carries constitutional weight. When you accept those privileges, transparency isn't really optional. It's essential. Bauer suggests that Meghan actually intended to have a home birth for Archie. But then why all the confusion and shifting stories about the Portland hospital? Why the carefully managed narrative that seemed to change depending on who was asking? And then there's Lilibet born in California, but almost totally absent from public view except for these super controlled images. You see William and Catherine's kids all the time at public events, trooping the color Christmas services. The world watches them grow. But Archie and Lilibet, they exist almost entirely in the abstract. Mentioned in interviews, referenced in statements, but rarely seen and never really with the broader royal family. So, is it truly about protection like Harry and Meghan claim? Or is there something else driving this separation? Bauer's most explosive claim isn't even about the timeline. It's about a conversation that allegedly happened long before Archie was born. One that completely reframes everything we thought we knew about that whole racist royal narrative. He recounts that during a casual family moment at Clarence's house, Prince Charles, Camilla, and Harry were together, and the conversation turned to potential children. Camilla apparently just laughingly said, "Well, any child you'll have will probably have brown skin and ginger hair." And get this, they all laughed, including Harry. Bauer says it wasn't because of racism. It was just a lighthearted comment, the kind of speculation that happens in millions of households when a mixed-race couple is expecting a child. If Bauer's version is accurate, then this was not the sinister, deeply racist concern about how dark the baby's skin might be. The conversation Meghan described to Oprah Winfrey. Remember that interview? Meghan's body language totally told its story. When Oprah pressed her for details, she became visibly uncomfortable. She hedged. She deflected. She wouldn't name who said it, couldn't provide context, and when Harry later tried to clarify, his version seemed much soft, more ambiguous than Meghan's initial framing. One body language expert even noted, "There are two truths here, and they don't match up." So, which version is real? Was it a cruel, racist interrogation or an innocent, affectionate moment twisted into something far darker for strategic purposes? The answer matters because if that racism narrative was a fundamental misrepresentation, what else in the Sussex story has been carefully reframed to serve a narrative rather than just reflect reality? The Montecito pressure cooker. While the world debates all these claims, life inside their mansion is reportedly reaching a breaking point. Sources close to the couple describe an atmosphere thick with tension, anxiety, and barely contained panic. Harry, they say, is spiraling. He's glued to his phone, obsessively reading comments, watching YouTube breakdowns, tracking every new theory online. He paces, snaps at staff, barely sleeps. It's ironic, right? This is the man who built his public identity around mental health advocacy, who spoke openly about his struggles, and now he appears trapped in that exact cycle. Unable to control the narrative, unable to silence the questions, unable to protect the one thing he said mattered most, his children's privacy. Meghan, though, is handling the pressure differently. She's described as cold, tactical, laser-focused. While Harry unravels, Meghan strategizes. Legal teams are mobilized. Cease and desist letters are flying. Media outlets get warnings. Influencers get legal threats. But here's the problem with that. It just looks defensive. When you respond to questions with lawyers instead of clear answers, people start wondering what you're hiding. Silence doesn't calm suspicion. It amplifies. And then there's the big elephant in the room, right? The royal family's complete and utter silence. We're talking no public statements from King Charles. No warm grandfather photos with Archie and Lilibet. No casual family moments caught at royal events. Just nothing. Now compare that to William and Catherine's kids, George, Charlotte, and Louis. They're everywhere, trooping the color, Christmas services, royal weddings, jubilees. The world watches them grow up. They see them interact with their great-grandmother when she was alive. They're just impossible to ignore, and it raises a really uncomfortable question. Is all this distance a punishment, or is it protection? There's a theory gaining traction among royal watchers, and it's actually been deliberately maintaining space between the Sussexes and the institution for a while now. What if senior advisors saw this crisis coming years ago and made a calculated decision to insulate the monarchy from whatever fallout might eventually happen? If that's true, then the palace isn't just staying silent now. They've been preparing for this moment. Harry and Meghan's entire post-royal financial structure is built on content creation. They sold their story, their struggles, their family life to streaming giants for millions of dollars. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. Celebrities do it all the time. But here's the fundamental problem. When your children become part of the product you're selling, while simultaneously claiming you're protecting them from exploitation, you just can't have it both ways. Section 21. You can't monetize Archie and Leet's existence through carefully curated documentary footage while demanding that the public has no right to ask basic questions about their lives. The documentary showed glimpses of the children, enough to maintain public interest, but never enough to satisfy basic curiosity. That's strategic, absolutely. But that strategy has now backfired spectacularly because it created a vacuum that Tom Bauer and others have rushed to fill. Think about it from the public's perspective. You're being asked to care about these children to support their parents' massive deals based partly on their family story. But you're also being told that basic questions about timeline and transparency are somehow invasive and inappropriate. That's a tough sell. And the more the Sussex team doubles down on that contradiction, the more suspicious people become. It starts to feel less like protection and more like selective disclosure designed to maximize profit while minimizing accountability. And here's the really uncomfortable truth. If Archie and Leet are being kept so private for their safety and well-being, why feature them in Netflix content at all? Why include pregnancy photos, birth announcements, and carefully staged family moments in documentaries that are literally designed for mass consumption and profit? The answer seems obvious to critic. The children are valuable, not just emotionally, but financially. They're content. They're part of the brand. And that makes every claim about privacy feel hollow. Harry has repeatedly cited security concerns as the reason for his distance from the UK and the royal family. He's fought legal battles over security funding. He's made impassioned statements about being unable to bring his family back to Britain safely. On the surface, that sounds reasonable. Royal children do face real security threats. That's undeniable. But look closer, and the argument starts to crack. If security is truly the primary concern, why are Harry and Meghan living in California, one of the most photographed paparazzi-heavy regions in the world? Why are they constantly photographed at celebrity events, restaurants, and public appearances? Why does Meghan do staged photos with the children from magazines if safety is paramount? Compare this to how William and Catherine handle security for their children. You see George, Charlotte, and Louis at controlled royal events with massive security protocols, but you don't see them being used as content for profit-driven media. You don't see conflicting messages about privacy versus exposure. The Sussex approach seems to be maximum privacy from royal transparency and family connection, but selective exposure when it serves their brand and financial interest. That's not a security strategy. That's a media strategy. And people are smart enough to see the difference. When Harry talks about not being able to bring his children to the UK safely, critics ask, safe from what exactly? The same British security apparatus that protects every other royal child. The same system that kept Harry himself safe his entire life despite being one of the most photographed people on Earth. Or is the real concern something else? Is it about avoiding questions that would arise if Archie and Lilibet were regularly present at royal functions? Is it about maintaining control over their image and narrative in a way that wouldn't be possible if they were integrated into the working royal family? These aren't unreasonable questions, and the fact that they keep getting deflected rather than answered only makes them more persistent.